Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Railworld, where we are in the Midpoint station. We're in the middle of setting up some stuff and we've run out of express belts, which is why we finished, and we're waiting on the mini train that we sent back home. And if we look on the radar now, you can see it's there, parked in its spot, so it's made it back home, which is an achievement in itself. I guess we've made it back home before, but it's not hit anything or whatever. And what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for it to get back and deliver all the things I need is I'm going to try setting up another train. And this one is going to go between the Midpoint and Mega Copper 1. It's going to deliver some copper to the base so we can smelt that. And then we've got the two basic materials, iron and copper. And there's a bunch of stuff we can make there. But though we do want to see if we can get coal and stone as well. Not sure how we're going to get those. Now, the moment I sent the train off, I realised that it was a terrible idea, because at the moment, the rail system between Midpoint and Mega Copper 1 does not support two trains going in opposite directions. As long as those two trains both go the same way and don't meet in the middle, it should be fine, but it is possible that they'll jam, and I'm hoping right now that won't happen. In the meantime, I'm working out the unloading system, and it turns out a little bit weird when you're on vertical rails, so I have to do a little bit of messing about to get it all positioned correctly. Well, not exactly messing about, but some of them are just a bit off-center, and one of them can have 6 and one of them can have 5, and the spacing's weird. There's only a gap of 1 in between instead of 2. And I try and have a look where the trains are. The mini train has now gone, but unfortunately I didn't put a radar covering Mega Copper 1. However, the train is here. It's arrived, delivering the copper. Meanwhile, hopefully the mini train is also on its way. There's nothing that can block its way now because this train has arrived. And I immediately tell it to stop because we don't want it to go again, because that would significantly increase the chances of something going wrong. Because basically we need to put in some passing points before we try and send any more than one train along there. So anyway, the mini train has arrived, and it's not a brilliant story. Some of the stuff works, but not everything. We didn't get any express belts, which is annoying because that was the main reason that I sent it back. We got a couple of the other things we were looking for, but there were none of those. We were also a little bit short on efficiency modules, and I think there wasn't quite as much ammo as I was hoping for. Though I think that may have just been because the train wasn't there long enough. It's hard to say. But what I'm doing now is I'm sorting out my inventory and that of the Mega Train, because we're going to pop home. We really, well, I say we don't really need the express belts, but I would really like to use them because it keeps everything running nice and fast, and also I've already started using them, so it would be a bit annoying to switch back to the normal ones. The Outpost is probably not going to be making that much stuff, but I've decided anyway that I'd like to have blue belts around it just because I like it that way. So yeah, we're checking that we don't have too much stuff just randomly on us, and then we're going to prepare ourselves for a trip back home. This does turn out to take the entire episode. I was hoping it would be a quicker trip, but things come up and stuff gets remembered that you have to do. So I can say that next episode we will almost definitely be setting straight off back to the base to get back on with the construction, if that's what you were hoping for. Anyway, I'm sorting out my inventory some more, trying to get my hotbar a little bit clean because it's full of mess, and there's some certain things I need in it. And then I'm going to empty out some more of the contents of the mini train into the Mega Train that we were hoping to get, and that did actually arrive. And then once we're done with that, we'll set off back home, though it won't be a straight journey all the way there. We're going to be stopping off in places. Also, at the moment, I'm loading a ton of wood into the train, just because we might need it, what with our backup power system that uses it now in the main base, and we've got no real use for the wood here. So what I'm doing now is sorting out some filters in the rear cargo wagon to decide what I'm going to be having with me. We've got stone, destroyer drones, efficiency modules, roboports and robots, and then I realised I messed it up because I have to put in something to block up the left side. So what I use is an item that doesn't exist. I believe it's the coin, which means that it basically acts the same as the red squares, but you can put them anywhere in a cargo wagon, which is useful. Anyway, we'll start setting up our first passing points on our way back, so that when we do come back again, the system is fully operational. So I take a minute to sort of work on a design, and then I actually trick myself into thinking that it doesn't fit, even though it does. So I deconstruct this one here, and decide to do it a little bit further down, and that shouldn't really make any difference to the situation, so that's fine. However, I do get slightly distracted and overshoot this corner a bit. This is where we're going to set up our first proper one, and it's a fairly basic setup. You just have the track split for a second. However, there's been a biter attack. Let's go see what's going on, and it's over at the circuit outpost. Something did get blown up, but the attack also got fought off, so it looks like it's alright, but we do want to keep an eye on it and probably try and rebuild whatever was destroyed before the next attack happens, because once a gap appears in your defences, it gets easier and easier for the biters to destroy everything around it. Well, basically, as soon as there's one gap, it gets a fair bit more difficult because, well, for you, because they can attack one turret and it can only have one other backing it up, well, depending on the spacing. Anyway, we set up our first one there. I sort of was talking while that happened, but basically the track splits, and then trains can only go one way on one part of the track and the other way on the other, meaning that any trains coming towards each other head-on will go in different directions. And if there's a train in between two passing points, then another one that arrives at a passing point will stop and wait for that to clear out of the way, and basically it means that they can't crash and they can't get stuck against each other, and so on. There is the issue, however, that things can move quite slowly on one of these tracks, and I think the more trains that you have, the more fiddly it can get, because a lot of trains have to wait around for others to move quite a long distance, and things can get a little bit clogged up. Because there's only ever going to be a few trains running on this, we shouldn't really have an issue, but you can help with the situation by adding in more passing points. Because the more you add in, and the shorter the distances between them, the more the trains can move. I can't off the top of my head think of a good way to explain it, mainly because I couldn't tell you, I can't think exactly why myself, but I know that that's how it works. So that's all good, and basically all I need to do is make sure that the train can fit inside the blocks that I put in, and just try and space them fairly evenly, because that makes the most use of them. But yeah, you could keep adding in more passing points until eventually you just have two lines, which is why two lines never has any trains stopping unless there is a junction, such as the circle junctions that I have. It's sort of a nice way to imagine it. Sometimes a good way to explain how something works is to explain its extremes, and that's basically what it is. When you have a two-track system, it is the absolute extreme of a passing point system. But anyway, we're putting in another section here. And I keep getting the spacing wrong on this. I haven't quite got a standardized setup in my head. By the time I finish putting these in, I've decided that the best way to do it is have either 8 or 9 straight rail pieces, and that works out fairly well. A train, if you have it 9, then a train should definitely be able to fit horizontally and vertically. I didn't try any diagonal ones because you can do those. I thought it's just best to stick with the horizontal and vertical ones, because on any corner there is either a horizontal or a vertical component, as well as there's always a diagonal one, at least in this particular system. If you have any 90-degree turns, then it's a little bit different. But anyway, we've just put in our last passing point, and here we are at the Mega Copper base to see how things are going over here. And I realised we've got a bit of a problem, because I tried to put in some signals here before and they wouldn't fit, and of course they still don't, which means that they have to be further back, and that I've put them in the middle of the mining drills. But that doesn't work, because you can't have that sort of signal setup on a single rail line, because two trains can come up against each other and be stuck on either side of that set of signals. So what you need to do, well, basically the only way to do it is to have passing points at all times, and you can't have a signal unless it is in a passing point. So what we'll have to do is just set one up as close as we can to that loop over there, because until a train gets to a passing point on this section of the line, nothing can use the loop over there, which is terrible, because it means that trains at the Mega Copper outpost can't turn back until that's cleared. I could do some messing about, shifting things around, and really I should just give myself more space when I originally set it up, and I'm now paying the price for that by having a bit of a fiddly system going on. Hopefully some copper will be mined away and there'll be more room to maneuver, and then I can mess about with things and make it work better. But for now, we're going to have to go with the system that we got. It shouldn't be too much of a problem, because with trains not very often going beyond the Mega Copper outpost, they will not often be in that area where they can block the loop. But anyway, we've finished setting all of that up now, and we're going to make our way back to the main base. And The fact that we are now halfway through the episode already shows why we don't get back to the midpoint station before the end of the episode. But anyway, let's find out what the problem is, and it becomes clear to me quite quickly that the way the inserters work is they take out whatever is at the front of the chest, even if that's not what they're supposed to have. However, if there is a train that is actually parked there and requesting a certain thing, then it will grab that right thing. But it does cause some issues, because apparently if it's requesting two things and you finish loading one, the inserters can still grab that same one thing and put it back in, as demonstrated by the express belts inserter, which tried to put in underground belts even after I'd requested some from, well, the train had requested some and then stopped requesting it and started requesting the normal express belts. So what I've done is rearranged it so the express belts are first in the box, because that's it's a lot more likely that I'll be requesting those than anything else. Also, most of the other stuff's been sorted out there. I sorted out a lot of it by breaking and replacing the inserters to make it realise what it was doing, basically, and what it should be loading up. I just deconstructed some miners there for the stone deposit, because it's actually, well, the ones that are there have run out. There is still stone deposit left, but I'm quite surprised at how quickly it's been burned through. But anyway, we're checking up on the main base, seeing how things are running. This time there's no horrific issues like there were before with the whole problem with the circuits. But I do find that level 1 efficiency modules have not yet started building up. They're all going into the assembly for making the level 2s, which apparently have also been in short supply recently, because that chest is still not quite full. So hopefully things will sort themselves out quickly enough, and we'll start getting level 1 efficiency modules built up so that we can actually take some, because we're quite low on them right now, and really I want everything to have efficiency modules in it in the midpoint station, so as not to encourage the biters, because we'll not be there very often to actually help defend the place once we've actually got it built and we're back on our journey around the lake. Anyway, while I'm here, I've decided to do some fixing of the power. It's still not doing great, even with a backup system. It's just not enough. Really, I need to add a lot more to the backup system to make it work properly. But right now, I'm worried that there isn't enough wood to keep that all supplied. There's barely any around the place, so we might get some regular shipments of wood coming in from the midpoint, at least until they run out, which will be after 3 shipments. So it might not go very far, but we can try. We can always cut down more trees around the place to fuel the thing, or even switch back to coal. That is also an option, and may even work better. It'll have a longer lasting effect anyway. It'll continue running longer than a wood-fired one would do. Anyway, we're over at the oil outpost right now, looking at the coal bit, and interestingly enough, it looks like we're getting a little bit short on coal. All the mining drills are running, and we've got mining drills covering nearly the entire place now. And it looks like we may need a new source of coal, which is interesting, because that coal deposit has supplied the entire factory since the very beginning of the game. I don't think I've ever mined any other coal deposits. Maybe there was some random little one that didn't last very long, but that is where it's all been coming from this whole time. Also, while I was over there, I checked up on the oil situation, and it's pretty crap, to be honest. All 3 oil fractions are empty, and crude oil itself is empty. It's in a pretty bad state, really, and we should try and fix it, but it should last us till we get back round. So I'm thinking of just leaving it and hoping it'll be fine. I would say that the end is probably nigh with the series, but I really don't know. I've been playing this for so long that I think if I did do an actual real finale, I may then continue again, at which point you will never trust any episode with the word finale in it ever again. But anyway, we're over at Copper Outpost 3 because it's finished. I'm not really surprised about this. I may have been aware of it before, but by now I would have been surprised if it was still running. And the good thing about this is that there's a bunch of efficiency modules in this, and we can use them in the midpoint station. This can keep us supplied for now, so that we don't have to wait for the module system to catch up and start actually producing those. So once we've got all these, I think we'll have everything that we want going back to the midpoint, and so that's good. We don't need to wait for any systems to build stuff for us. Anyway, we'll get this fully cleared away, just get all of the random bits and bobs. We had to dump some of it into the train because we ran out of inventory space. But that's fine, this can all just go somewhere, I don't know where, wherever I feel like. But there we go, it's cleared away, and there's no sign that it was ever there apart from the actual rail line leading to it, just like with Copper Outpost 1 and 2. And next on the list, of course, is Copper Outpost 4, which has also run out. This is even less of a surprise, because I basically set it up to burn through the copper as quickly as possible last time I visited, and it has of course done that. So here we are with another 15 there, and plenty more in the way of efficiency modules. We've got more than we need now, I think. This will be enough, I think, to cover like the entire iron deposit back at Midpoint, which I don't think I will need the entirety of. I'll just get a little bit more on it and go from there. And we can also put it in the various assemblers that we'll have around the place. Anyway, while we're here, the train turned up, the train for Copper Outpost 4, so we'll just send that back to the spare train area. And we would send this one back, but we've got one more little thing that I decided to do before I go, which is visit Iron Outpost 2. It's been a while since we did any maintenance on this, so I thought I'd check up on it, see how it's running, and, well, harvest some more efficiency modules, because, of course, a bunch of mining mules have run out here as well. There are still plenty running, though, but I don't think it's enough anymore, because they are all running, which is always a sign that you need some more production going. So what we'll do is set up another column, and this will use up a lot of the efficiency modules that we just gathered, but that should be fine. We've already got like stacks and stacks of them, so this will be a drop in the ocean at this point. We've deconstructed two fairly one very big outpost, and then one decently sized one in terms of miners. In terms of space covered, it was tiny. But anyway, we'll put in all this, get the power going to it after an autosave. Which reminds me, the first autosave that we had this episode marked the 60-hour point in the series. I forget when that was, and I meant to point it out, but I forgot, so I'm saying it now. But anyway, we've got that all set up, we've got all the efficiency modules in, and before I go, I noticed that all of the loading chests for the rear cargo wagons of the train are a little bit empty, as seems to be the theme with a lot of this stuff, because of the way that I've set up the unloading at the other end. The rear cargo wagon always gets emptied first, so what I decided to do is give the rear cargo wagon some extra supplying capability. We'll get some extra belts in place, just so that more can be put into the rear cargo wagons to sort of balance it out a bit more. It doesn't really matter that much, because if the rear cargo wagon empties, then there's the front one, and that's usually completely full, but whatever, and we'll put a couple more in around the place to balance things well and get it all going in as quickly as possible. And then we'll make our way to the spare train area and see what we can do about all the stuff that's in this train. While we're here, do a quick bit of scouting out of the general area, looking at things. We arrived back at the spare train area, and now I need to work out what to do with all of this stuff. I checked the logistics range, but it's not enough that I can just unload straight into a chest, but I'll just stick a chest a couple of feet back and then grab a bunch of stuff out the train and stick it into the chest. We've got all sorts of things. A lot of the stuff is like... The thing is, I've got the 4 different kinds of power poles, which are like take up a huge amount of space in and of themselves. There's a bunch of... there's a full 3 rows of my inventory there that are taken up by stuff that I always have on me, and probably another full line in there worth of stuff that I would also never get rid of. It is getting a bit messy, and I wonder if we should have upgrades that give us more inventory capacity or something. I mean, we do have one that gives us an extra hotbar space, which is 10 more slots in itself, but it's ridiculous how many inventory slots you need in Factorio just to hold all of the stuff. And thank God that they came up with a crafting system that doesn't require you to, like, arrange them or anything. You just ask for a thing and it makes it out of all the stuff you have handy. Anyway, we're over in Copper Outpost 2 because there is some stone here, and what I've decided to do is set up a stone train. This is something that I've been hoping to do for a while, just because it's a new thing to cart around, and you know, I can have more trains delivering stuff, and more trains is always good. This is Railworld after all, and so we're going to get this all covered with mining drills. And then there are 2 locations that we want to deliver stone to. One is the main base. It doesn't need it that urgently right now, because we do still have a fair bit of stone very close to things. Unfortunately, there is a robot port, I think, in the middle of it, which is annoying. But I've decided to sort of preemptively get this set up, and this can supply it for now, really. It doesn't matter. We'll see whether this is enough or whether we actually need more. There is a larger stone deposit just to the south of Iron Outpost 2 that we can make use of. If this turns out not to be enough, I imagine it will be, because there's not that much that well, the only thing you really use stone for is walls and rails. So we'll have a fair bit used for rails, but I imagine this outpost will be enough for it. But anyway, one train will go to the main base, and the other one will go, of course, to Midpoint Station, so that we can build some rails there. And well, that was one of the main reasons that we have that we're going to have that station there, because we don't have to run all the way back to the main base to get more rails. But anyway, we'll rename the outpost to Stone Outpost 1, and here comes the stone now being loaded in. So we'll set up what the train does. This one at the moment, we don't have anywhere for it to go, so we send it back to spare train, and once we get back to the main base, we can set something up for it. So here we are, and of course the other spare train there can be used to deliver to the Midpoint Station. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to Copper 2 here, and we're going to repurpose it, because we haven't used Copper 2 for a while now. The main base doesn't use up copper like it used to now, what with everything going into the circuit outpost. So we don't really need this particular station, so we can repurpose it to stone. We'll just deconstruct all the nearby bits of infrastructure that are getting in the way, rename it to Stone 1, and now we get some stone delivered here. I don't know whether we actually need to have 10 provided chests. One per cargo wagon would probably have done, but whatever, we'll go over the top with it, and it just means that it'll get unloaded quicker. So what we'll do is we'll have it spend 20 seconds at each place, and then we'll immediately set up this one to go between Stone Outpost 1 and the midpoint. And to start off, I wander off without sending it there, and I also decide to have it stay 30 seconds at each one. Don't know whether that's a good idea or not. First of all, I wander off, but then I think, actually, no, we'll just send it off, because we have the Minitrain to take us back to Midpoint anyway. But we're pretty much running out of time for today. Nothing's been taken out of that provided chest, but we're pretty much ready now to go back. We've got all the materials we need, I think. So it's just a case of actually hopping on a train and going. I get slightly distracted by the millions of bots that start delivering stone to this, which is pretty cool. We'll also sort out what rails we've got, and we'll make our way back to the middle. And next episode we will go back to Midpoint and finish what we're doing. So I shall say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.